everyone, it's Miss Hinde-Taylor here reading chapter 15 of Half a King by Joe Abercrombie, and this chapter is called Ugly Little Secrets. Shadikshram's cabin was cramped and garish, gloomy from the 3 slit windows, shadowy from sacks and bags dangling from the low roof beams. Her bed, heaped with sheets and furs and stained pillows, took up most of the floor. An outsize iron-bound chest took up most of the rest. Empty bottles were rolled to every corner. The place smelled of tar, salt and incense, stale sweat and stale wine. And yet compared to the life Yarvi had been living, if that even qualified as a life, it seemed the height of indulgent luxury. The repair won't last, Samael was saying. We should head back to Skekenken House. The wonderful thing about the shattered sea is that it forms a circle. Shadikshram made a circle in the air with her bottle. We will come to Skekenken House either way. Samael blinked at that, but one in days, the other months. You'll keep us going, you always do. The sailor's worst enemy is the sea, but wood floats, no? How difficult can it be? We head on. Shadikshram's eyes drifted to Yarvi as he ducked under the low lintel. Ah, my ambassador. Since we still have our skins, I assume things went well. I need to speak to you, my captain. He spoke with eyes downcast, the way a minister speaks to their king. You alone. She stuck out her bottom lip and plucked at it like a musician might a harp. A man seeking a private audience always intrigues me, even one so young, crippled and otherwise unattractive as you. Get to your caulk and timber, Samael. I want us back on salt by morning. The muscles at the sides of Samael's head bunched as she ground her teeth, on it or under it, and she shouldered past Yarvi and out. So, Shadikshram took a long swig of wine and set the bottle rattling down. I beg the Shens for guest right, my captain. They have a solemn tradition not to deny a stranger who asks properly. Nimble, said Shadikshram, gathering her black and silver hair in both hands. And I negotiated for the things we need and made what I consider an excellent trade. Very nimble, she said, winding her hair into its usual tangle. But now was when his nimbleness would truly be needed. You may not think it quite so excellent a deal as I, my captain. Her eyes narrowed slightly. How so? Your storekeeper and overseer took their own shares in your profits. There was a long pause while, one by one, Shadikshram slid the pins carefully through her hair to hold it fast. Her face did not change by the slightest detail, yet Yarvi felt suddenly that he was standing at the brink of a precipice. Did they? She said. He'd expected anything but this offhand coolness. Did she know already but not care? Would she send him back to the oar regardless? Would Trig and Ankran learn he had betrayed them? He licked his lips, knowing he stood on desperately thin ice, but he had no choice but to press on and hope somehow to reach solid ground. Not for the first time, he croaked. No? In Volsgard you gave money for healthy oar slaves, and they bought the cheapest dregs they could find, myself among them. I've a guess you received little change. Pathetically little. Shadikshram picked up her bottle between 2 fingers and took a long swig. But I begin to wonder whether I got a bargain with you. Yarvi felt a strange desire to blurt the words out, had to make himself speak calmly, earnestly, just as a minister should. They made both arrangements in Helene, thinking no one would understand, but I speak that language too. And singing it, no doubt. For an oar slave you have many talents. A minister should endeavour never to be asked a question that they do not already know the answer to, and Yarvi had a lie hanging ready for that. My mother was a minister. A minister's belt should remain ever fastened. Shadikshram sucked air through her pursed lips. Oh, ugly little secret. Life is full of them. So it is, boy, so it is. She taught me tongues and numbers and the law of plants and many other things that could be of use to you, my captain. A useful child indeed. You may need 2 hands to fight someone, but only one to stab them in the back, eh? Ankran, she sang through the open door. Ankran, your captain would speak with you. The storekeeper's footstep came fast, but not as fast as Yarvi's heart. I've been checking the stores, captain, and there's a hatchet missing. He saw Yarvi as he ducked through the doorway, and his face twitched. Shock at first, then suspicion, and finally he tried to smile. Can I bring you more wine? Never again. There was an ugly pause, while the captain smiled bright-eyed and the colour steadily drained from Ancran's face, and the blood in Yarvi's temple surged louder and louder. I expect Trig to rob me. He is a free man and must look to his own interests. But you, to be robbed by one's own possessions? Shidikshirem drained her bottle, licked the last drops from the neck and weighed it lazily in her hand. You must see that is something of an embarrassment. The storekeeper's thin lips twisted. He's lying, Captain. But his lies match my suspicions so closely. It's all so fast that Yarvi hardly saw it, only heard the hollow thud. Shidikshirem clubbed Ancran with the base of her bottle. He dropped with a grunt and lay blinking, blood streaming down his face. She stepped forward, lifting her boot over his head, and calmly, steadily, frowning with concentration, started stamping on it. Swindle me? She hissed through gritted teeth, heel opening a cut down his cheek. Steal from me? As her boot smashed Ancran's nose sideways. Take me for a fool? Yarvi looked away into the corner of the room, the breath crawling in his throat as the sick crunching went on. After all I've done for you. Shidikshirem squatted down, forearms resting on her knees and her hands dangling. She thrust her jaw forward and blew a loose strand of hair out of her face. I am once again disappointed by the wretchedness of humanity. My wife, Ancran whispered, bringing Yarvi's eyes crawling back to his ruined face. A bubble of blood formed and broke on his lips. My wife and my son. What of them? Snapped Shidikshirem, frowning at a red splatter that had caught the back of her hand and wiping it clean on Ancran's clothes. The flesh dealer you bought me from in Thorby. Ancran's voice was squelchy. Yovafel. He has them. He coughed and pushed a piece of tooth out of his mouth with his tongue. He said he'd keep them safe, as long as I brought them their price, every time we passed through. If I don't pay... Yarvi felt weak at the knees. So weak he thought he might fall. Now he understood why Ancran had needed all that money. But Shidikshirem only shrugged. What's that to me? And she twisted her fingers in Ancran's hair and pulled a knife from her belt. Wait! Shouted Yarvi. The captain looked over at him sharply. Really? Are you sure? It took everything he had to force his mouth into a watery smile. Why kill what you can sell? She squatted there a moment, staring at him, and he wondered if she would kill them both. Then she snorted out a laugh and lowered the knife. I do declare my soft heart will be my undoing. Trig! The overseer paused for just a moment when he stepped into the cabin and saw Ancran on the floor with his face a bloodied pulp. It turns out our storekeeper has been robbing me, said the captain. Trig frowned at Ancran, then at Shidikshirem, and finally, for a long time, at Yarvi. Seems some people think only of themselves. And I thought we were one family. The captain stood, dusting off her knees. We have a new storekeeper. Get him a better collar. She rolled Ancran towards the door with her foot and put this thing in the space on Jowd's oar. Right you are, Captain. And Trig dragged Ancran out by one arm and kicked the door closed. You see that I am merciful, said Shidikshirem brightly, with merciful gestures of the blood-spotted hand which still loosely held a knife. Mercy is my weakness. Mercy is a feature of greatness, Yarvi managed to croak. Shidikshirem beamed at that. Isn't it? But great though I am, I rather think Ancran has used up all my mercy for this year. She put her long arm about Yarvi's shoulders, hooking her thumb through his collar, and drew him close enough to smell the wine on her whisper. If another storekeeper betrayed my trust... And she trailed off into silence more eloquent than any words. You have nothing to worry about, my captain. Yarvi looked into her face so close that her black eyes seemed to merge into one. I have no wife or children to distract me. Only an uncle to kill and his daughter to marry and the black chair of Getland to reclaim. I'm your man. You're scarcely a man, but otherwise excellent. And she wiped her knife one way, then the other on the front of Yarvi's shirt. Then wriggle down to your stores, my little one-handed minister, ferret out where Ancran was hiding my money, and bring me up some wine. And smile, boy. Shidikshirem pulled a golden chain from around her neck and hung it over one of the posts of her bed. A key dangled from it, the key to the Orslave's locks. I like my friend smiling and my enemies dead. She spread her arms wide, wriggled the fingers, and toppled back onto her furs. Today dawned with such little promise, she mused at the ceiling, but it turns out everyone got what they wanted. Yarvi thought it was unwise to point out, as he hurried for the door, that Ankran, not to mention his wife and child, would probably not have agreed. And that's the end of that chapter. Join me next time to read the next chapter, chapter 16, Enemies and Allies. Take care.